pleased to welcome in General Manager Craig Conroy, and we're out here in front of a memorial for Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, and obviously this is something that's grown over the last number of days since the tragic loss of Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau over the course of the weekend. And today this was a good place to talk a little bit about them, the memory of Johnny specifically, and obviously just what the city of Calgary has shown in terms of support for the Gaudreau family. And maybe just as you sit here, and I know you've been out here a number of times over the course of the weekend, but just kind of what stands out about this outpouring of support for the Gaudreaus.
Well, you came out the first day, and it was smaller, and just to see it grow and people out here every day, and the support and love they have for Johnny and his family and Matthew, and through such a tragedy. But this is how much he meant to the city, to us, the organization, and nobody wishes they were here doing any of this.
I mean, obviously it's been a difficult weekend for everybody, especially within this organization. Maybe just how are you doing? How are you feeling? And obviously you're close with them.
I think when you first hear the news, you're really hoping it's not even true. And then, you go through all the emotions. You're mad, you're sad. Then you think of some of the great times we had together, and some of the best things I've done on this side of hockey have been with the Gaudreaus, and the bond you build with the family. Those are the things you try to think of, all the good times, but then, you have moments where, it's emotional, and, you can't talk about them, and you can't even believe this is happening.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real. When you look at just your history with him, I mean, it goes back to obviously when he was drafted, and you think about that young guy coming into it, and it was just a summer camp at that point, obviously as he was heading off to Boston College. But I wanted to ask you about that memory of signing him and that story of bringing him to Calgary as an official member of the Calgary Flames. Yeah,
I think we always thought, hey, we're going to get Johnny signed and we're going to get it all done. And with the Final Four in Philadelphia, we flew out, Peter Hanlon and myself, and unfortunately they lost the game, and everybody, I get it. Emotions were high at that point, and we looked everywhere for Johnny in the building and couldn't find him, and ran into the Gaudreaus. So we knew we were going to be in a good spot. And then the only thing, when the Gaudreaus saw us, they weren't overly happy to see us. That was Jane actually just turned and walked away and was pretty upset. So I thought, this is probably not going as well as I thought it was going to be. And then Peter Hanlon actually said, oh, here they come. And it was Johnny and Maddie were walking on the concourse, and, true Johnny fashion. What are you guys doing here? That was what that's what he said. And, pretty much we said, well, we came to get you. And he goes, oh. And, we thought it was going to be a quick get the contract done, move on, and take him the next day after the Hobey Baker ceremony. We assumed he was going to win the Hobey Baker and then bring him back to Calgary so he could play his last game in Vancouver. And that's when it kind of, the reality, maybe it wasn't going to happen. They were thinking about going back to school because to be with Maddie, one more year, be together, and it just shows that tight bond. He was thinking more about his family than he was starting his pro career. So, it was a long 6-7 hours, and then we finally got the call later that evening that he wanted to sign and he'd be there. And the next day, in Johnny fashion, you're a little late. So again, you were a little nervous, thinking about, did he change his mind? And then he called and said, I can't find parking. So I said, here's my room number, just valet it and come in, please. So he's like, okay, no problem. And, we got him signed in Philly at the Ritz, in the vault. So the vault always has a special place when we go back to Philly every year. And, to see that picture the other day and think that's where it all started. And then to see him win the Hobey Baker the next day. And he really didn't want to tell anybody he signed with us. But, at some point I'm like, Peter Hanlon said, "You're going to have to tell them, Johnny. They're going to know soon enough." So he did, and then on the plane and coming back, and I just remember sitting across from him, he was right in front of me, and thinking, this is going to be the next superstar of the Calgary Flames. That's what you're hoping for. And I think as much as I was thinking that, I never thought it would be to the level that he kind of took his play to.
Well, and maybe just on that, because of what he turned into, the excitement that he brought to the arena every night, the amount that he endeared himself to Flames fans. I mean, what stood out about his tenure as a member of the Calgary Flames, and really how he did morph into that next superstar?
His passion and love for the game. I mean, he just loves the game. He loves, his whole 9 years here, he brings you out of the seat at any moment. He gets the puck, you're like, oh, we have a chance here. And the big goals, the plays, to see his personality in the room and to see how he grew as a person over those years. And, he was a special person and a special player. So to be able to have them both and be a part of that was something that I'll never forget. And, every time I see all the highlights, and he just did so many things. I felt very fortunate to be able to sit and watch him every night and see what he could do, because some nights I would just watch out and just shake my head. I cannot believe he just did that.
Well, and I know, like many of us, we can't stop thinking about that family and what they're going through, the Gaudreau family. And we saw it over and over the years, just about how close they were, how often we'd see Guy and Jane either here in Calgary or on the road somewhere. And then obviously, just his entire family, how close they were and how much hockey was a part of it. I just maybe what stands out about what you got to know about their family and just, how close they were to this organization.
You can't find a closer family. I mean, the love that family had, all the kids, Guy, Jane, and then how they brought us into it and let us be a part of it. Whether it was playing shinny hockey with Guy over at West Hillhurst rink, and that was his second or third game. I remember, like, you've already played?
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah. I mean, and just his passion. And it just shows you where it came from, and the reason. And it's.
That was around the playoffs, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was around the playoffs that
right.
year. So, it was just so much fun to kind of get to know them over the time, and how they embrace the city too, because I always was wondering, do they want to do another interview? Are they sick of us? Are we bugging them? And they enjoyed it, and they were a big part of it. I mean, people, when they came into town, we knew it was always a good thing for me, because I knew Johnny's game was great. It'd take it to another level just because of that. But to be able to get to know them, very special. They're very special people.
Is there anything, as we kind of wrap this up, over the course of the weekend, we heard so many stories, different tributes to Johnny from fans, things that really stand out. Is there anything that, really pops to your mind when you think about his character, the guy that we all knew and loved?
Well, I just think for me, it's seeing where he was when he got here. I think we weighed him in the first day at 119 pounds. He said he wasn't feeling well. And then to see him progress and the type of person he was, and to be with Meredith, and to see them get married and then have kids. And, I think it's just the whole package, on the ice, off the ice. He's got an unbelievable personality. But, I think the one thing that I remember Bob Hartley said, he asked me one day after one of the games, who do you think the most competitive person on the team is? It was Johnny's first year. And I said, Mark Giordano. And I went through like 3 names. He said, no, most competitive person on this team, Johnny Gaudreau. And I thought, really? He goes, you might not see it because he's not gonna, when Jerome was here, he might get upset and he'd fight or throw a big hit. But Johnny's passion and will to win was second to none. He said, you're gonna be able to win with him. So you have a good one here. So, and that was his first year, and you're thinking, and Bob doesn't throw around compliments very often like that. So when I heard that, I think that's what really stands out, just in what he did for the city, both on and off the ice. I mean, just the person in general, and just how good a friend he was in the end. Yeah. That's what I'll always, I'm just trying to remember all the good times.
Well, and obviously his impact is is seen here outside the steps of the Calgary Scotiabank Saddledome. And I want to thank you for your time, obviously under difficult circumstances, but thanks for sharing some memories and some stories of Johnny.
Thanks for having me.